Hey y'all, this is Crystal. Welcome back to the channel. I so appreciate you stopping by. Always so thankful for your time. But today we're going to do a book tag video, and I'm going to be doing the birth year book tag. This was a tag created by Ollie over at Criminolly, and who I've just been enjoying the heck out of his videos here lately. And so of course I'll link him up below, and go check him out if you're not already watching him. You probably are, but I enjoy his stuffs. And he's got a pretty fun tag here. It's the birth year tag, and I think his aim was to kind of help us think about, do we read old books as opposed to new books? What are our enjoyment level of older books opposed to, when you compare to new books, that kind of stuff. Just get our brains churning a little bit. And so let's just dive right into it. All right, number one is, have you read any books that were released the year that you were born? If so, what are some of your faves? Yes, I have. I was born in 1977. Very good year. And I went through some lists of like top books that came out in 77 and general like little books that were released in 77, and I found a few definitely that I have read through at some points at my life. These two by the Queens that I read a lot when I was young. Judy Blume's, starring Sally J. Friedman as herself, and Queen Beverly Cleary, Ramona and Her Father, came out in 1977. I loved the Ramona books when I was a kid. And yeah, so anyway, these were on the list for 77. I'd also read my list here. This book here. Now I have this bind up about Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Peterson. Was listed on one of those lists I looked up. This is a bind up of 3 of her books, but Bridge to Terabithia is so good. It's heartbreaking. It's a really good middle grade story. It was turned into a pretty good movie too. I definitely read that one. Let's see, there was I Am the Cheese by Robert Cormier. I definitely remember reading that when I was younger. And a couple of grown-up books. The Amityville Horror came out in 1977 by Jay Anson. I read that a couple of years ago. It was pretty good. But I have to say my favorite that came out in 1977 was, The Shining by Stephen King. This was probably my favorite horror book. and yeah, I finally read this, I think a couple years ago also. And it scared the crap out of me. So definitely the scariest book I think I've ever read, and my favorite. I love this book. So I've read a few from 77. Now the number 2 is, have you read any books that were published in the year that you turned 18? Which for me, 1995. Another good year. 1995, so I would have been like my last part of my senior year of high school, and then my first semester at App State, and that amazing summer in between. And 95, yeah, that was a fun year. So I definitely have read some books from 1995. The Golden Compass came out by Philip Pullman, where I read that. This one I did pull it out because I do have a copy of it. High Fidelity by Nick Hornsby came out in 1995. I didn't read it in 95 though. I'm pretty sure I have, whenever the movie came out, I think that's when I definitely picked up this book, and I like this book. I remember liking that one, yeah. I just here recently read Rose Madder by Stephen King. That came out in 1995. It was okay. Did I miss one? This one, which is my original copy from 1995, Mimnock the Devil by Anne Rice. This is part of the Vampire Chronicles, and I don't remember a thing about it, but I remember, this is an old copy. There's all these yellowed edges from time. I'm pretty sure I bought it brand new, and I'm pretty sure I read it right away. The 90s, my high school years were my obsession with Anne Rice, for sure. Yeah. Yes. I know this is about Lestat, I think. I don't even know. Like I said, I don't remember a thing about this book. I need to reread the entire Vampire Chronicles, essentially, because yeah, I don't remember that. But I think my favorite book that I found, that came out in 1995, and I don't know if I maybe read it in 95, but I read it a long time ago. So it was Kiss the Girls by James Patterson. Do you remember when that book came out? Ooh, this is an Alex Cross book. When Patterson, everybody was reading this book at the time. It's a thriller about a serial killer. Is it a serial killer? And I remember reading that book and loving it. I'll say maybe that's my favorite of the list, because I do remember just like really loving it. So yeah, those are some books from 1995. Now number 3 asks of us, of the last 10 books that you read, how many were published before you were born? Of my last 10, 3 were published before I was born. Oops. One of which is a poetry collection. Do I count poetry? I guess so. And Sexton's All the Pretty Ones, which came out in 1962. And of course I just recently read that, because that's what the question says. I read Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut, 1969. This came out. I really love that. And then, of course, I just recently read Dracula by Bram Stoker, which came out in 1897. Way before I was born. And this was okay. Now, the second part of this question is, did you prefer them to newer books? And I would say it's probably 50-50. These I really loved. And Sexton's poems were very beautiful and poignant and really wonderful. This, I think, was just great. And it was a reread, but a lot of it was like new, since it's been so long since I read it. And it's funny, it's zany, yeah. But like Dracula, I didn't love. I struggled with Dracula. I don't know. I'm so bored. And I don't know, so yeah. It's a wishy-washy answer to that question, but I'd say 50-50. So of course, where am I? Okay, number 4. Your favorite movie from your birth year and why? So I looked up movies that came out in 1977 to remind you. And yeah, there were some good ones. Okay, so here's some good ones that I definitely have watched and definitely enjoy. The Rescuers, this Disney movie, The Rescuers. That was my favorite Disney movie for a long time. I loved The Rescuers. The best villain, I think, is probably still in The Rescuers. She's so evil. This movie called Orca. Do y'all remember that movie about the killer, the orca whale who is like avenging the murder of his mate? I'm trying to think of the movie now. This was like a Saturday afternoon movie that would come on a lot growing up as a kid. The Hills Have Eyes. Classic. Eraserhead. Smokey and the Bandit. My husband and I still quote Smokey and the Bandit almost on a daily basis. That movie is so ridiculous, but it's hilarious. I laugh so much watching Smokey and the Bandit. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I mean, that's a wonderful movie. We actually were just watching that the other week. It's still so good. The ending, still so good. Still so good. But let's be honest. The best movie that came out in 1977 Star Wars, which back then was just called Star Wars. I still have this old VHS copy, and I will never get rid of it because this is the, before Lucas went back and added a bunch of stuff to it. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, right? Han Solo, Princess Leia. I love Princess Leia. Princess Leia is my favorite. Darth Vader, C-3PO, R2-D2, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Started my love of Star Wars in general, and the love of science fiction, and what can you say about Star Wars? It's so good, and it's still really good. I mean, when you watch it now, it's still really good. So that's my favorite. Part 2, of course. Well, this is number 5. Is a movie from when you turned 18. Again, 1995. I made a little list here of ones I definitely remember watching, and I probably watched them in that year, at least 1995, 96. Because I watched a lot of movies. I used to watch a lot of movies. We were like, my family growing up were movie renting crazy people. Go rent some movies on the weekend, watch movies all weekend long, that kind of thing. We didn't really go to the theater too much, but we definitely rented the hell out of some movies. And so here's just a short list of ones I definitely remember liking and really enjoying. Let's see, Boys on the Side. You remember this one? Drew Barrymore, Whoopi Goldberg. Who else is? There's another woman in it. I'm not remembering. I like that one. The Prophecy with Christopher Walken. I really like that movie. I haven't watched that in a long time. That's a good one. Dead Men Walking. Susan Sarandon and Sean Penn. He's like this guy on death row, and she's this nun that comes in to talk to him and stuff. Stellar performances, I remember. I think they were probably Oscar nominated that year. If they didn't win, I don't remember, but yeah, that was a good movie. Welcome to the Dollhouse, introducing Heather Matarazzo, and oh my god, I remember loving that movie. Talking about like awkward girl. I was like, I identify with you, and I loved it so much. It makes me smile thinking about it, even though I haven't probably watched that in 20 years. That movie called Powder. Do you guys remember that? This was my sister's favorite movie for a long time. Another one I hadn't watched in so long, but I remember loving it. Tommy Boy came out in 1995. I mean, this is classic. Farley Spade. I think a lot of the scenes in that movie are still just really funny. And one that I guess I kind of circled as maybe my fave of that year, and I'm sure there were of course, a lot of other movies that came out that year that we watched. But Get Shorty. I still laugh at Get Shorty when I watch it now. It's silly and kind of ridiculous. But it's really good. John Travolta, Rene Russo, Gene Hackman, Danny DeVito, James Gandolfini. What's that guy's name? I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. Anyway, oh my god, it's just funny. It's pure funny, and so that's probably my favorite of the year. Okay, now I watched Juan over at Plagued by Visions, his version of this tag, and he added some music onto the end. Music from your birth year and music from the year that you turned 18. And I wanted to add this because music, especially in 1995, was a big part of my life, and probably way more so than books during that time period. I was in school, so I was like reading stuff for school, and I didn't really necessarily do a whole lot of free time, like free reading, unless it was like Anne Rice or the occasional King book, that kind of thing. But music, like that summer of 1995, I probably went to like so many concerts and shows to see bands, and yeah, so here we go. Let's do music from my birth year, 1977. These are albums that I've definitely I've listened to the entire album and love, right? The Clash, by The Clash. Rumors, Fleetwood Mac. I personally have a love-hate relationship with Fleetwood Mac, but I won't deny the importance of Fleetwood Mac. in musical history, right? Little Queen by Heart. Never Mind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols. Low by David Bowie. Out of the Blue by Electric Light Orchestra. I don't care, I like YOLO. And one I definitely remember listening to the vinyl record of in my house was the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Pretty iconic, I would say. So, music from 1995, the year that I turned 18. This is a very shortened list because there was a lot. Washing Machine by Sonic Youth. Ben Folds 5, self-titled first album. Adrenaline by the Deftones. Me Against the World, Tupac. Elastica's self-titled album. Y'all remember when Elastica came out? And they were like the shit there. I loved that album. To Bring You My Love, PJ Harvey. I love me some PJ Harvey. The Bends by the Radiohead. Post by Bjork. Now, how many times did I listen to that CD all the way through? Over and over and over again. Love it. My favorite, though, from 1995. Elliott Smith's self-titled album. To know me is to know that I love Elliott Smith. And my love affair with Elliott Smith probably started in 1995. God, I love him so much. I mourn him daily. So yeah. So that was some of my favorite tunage that I was listening to back in the day. And I'm of that age where, like, I'm 44 now, so I'm like, the stuff that I was listening to back in, like, when I was a teenager, early 20s, that's like the best stuff for me, right? So I listen to some new stuff, but a lot of times I put on those comfort albums, you know. I put Siamese Dream on and listen start to finish and just, the world isn't so bad, is it? Anyway, I rambled. But yeah, so I think it's interesting to think about, like, the things that you consume. And I think for me, a lot of times books, I definitely consume newer stuff with old stuff kind of sprinkled in. I don't keep up really well with movies these days, especially in the past, say, like 5-ish years or more. Like, I'm way behind on movies. Well, since having my kid, let's say, so he's almost 10. So. And then music, I sometimes feel out of touch. Like, I'm not always, hip to what's new. So I don't know. Books, I think I consume more new stuff, whereas other stuff I find I watch and listen to things that are more nostalgic for comfort, I'll say. Yeah. So it's definitely interesting. I'd like to, maybe by the end of the year, see how many books, older books I've read compared to new. I'm sure it will be less, but I'll be curious kind of what the percentage is. We'll see. So thanks, Ollie, for creating this tag. It was a lot of fun, and a lot of fun to think back on stuff you used to read and watch and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to tag you it. If you're interested in doing the tag, please do. I think it's a lot of fun to kind of, just get nostalgic and think about it. Think about yourself, especially when you're 18, especially if you're a little older like me. So yeah, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate you, taking some time and watching me ramble on. Until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.